All right, what's going on, everybody? Time for another episode of the Sports Department Podcast with Justin Valentovic and Stephen Clark. So, Jesse, Steve aren't here, so it's going to be a Colts cast, basically. We're going to talk about the Colts and all about the Colts. So, with that being said, let's start talking about the Colts Week 3 matchup, because let's get into that. So, this is our Week 3 podcast, but we're not going to go completely in on the Colts.
We're not going to
podcast,
but
we're going to start with them.
We're going to start with it because we're the only ones here.
Yeah, exactly.
We're the only ones dedicated enough to be here on this beautiful Friday afternoon.
We're also the only ones who are unemployed enough to be here to do this, but that is here nor there. So let's get into the Colts Week 3 matchup. First AFC South matchup of the season, and they are traveling to Tennessee to take on the Titans. Now,
it's not the first AFC South matchup, the Texans versus the Jaguars earlier.
I'm saying of the Colts season.
You didn't say that.
Whatever.
You didn't say that.
But
you'll get some smark in the comments.
We don't get comments. But here is the big problem with the good old Colts, and the big storyline of it is who in the hell is playing quarterback for the Colts? Right now, it seems like it might be Carson Wentz on his 2 sprained ankles, as he did practice a little bit today. As we're recording, it is Friday, and it is a game time decision, which honestly, based on how he seems he wants to play, because he really wants to kick the stigma of him being a injury-prone quarterback, I could see him trying to play and doped up on a lot of cortisone shots, trying to numb the pain and go out there and play against the Titans. But if he can't go out, it looks like it's going to be Jacob Eason mixed with some Brett Hundley, which, that is not a fun alternative at all whatsoever. So, Clark, how do you feel about this matchup?
I don't feel good either way.
No, neither do I.
If Carson starts, cool. He'll be a little closer to the game. Carson doesn't play, it's a wash. Titans had a very, very good week last week with a nice comeback win over the Seahawks. Derrick Henry, he started a slow week 1, but week 2, he was back to his normal self as he was last year and the years prior. And the Titans are just a better team overall. Their defense is the biggest problem, but their offense is insane. AJ Brown, Julio had a fantastic game. And if Tannehill just, plays the position just the way he has to as a game manager, they're going to do just fine. And I'm taking the Titans to win this one.
Yeah, if they can get Derrick Henry going, because we saw last week against the Seahawks, once they got him going, he is an unstoppable freight train. Yeah. And the Colts' biggest issue is they can't really get the running game going. So whoever's playing quarterback might have to throw a little bit more, because Jonathan Taylor, Marlon Mack, Naheem Hines, and co. all seem to struggle with getting out of the gate right away. And with the biggest problem for the Colts being what is going on with their quarterback situation, along with a secondary that is banged up and a little bit lackluster compared to last season, I'm going to do it. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'm going to guarantee the Titans winning this week.
Oh, I'm never picking the guarantee against the Colts, but no, I'm taking the Titans.
I don't feel too great about the Colts. The Titans are at home. They're coming off a big momentous win. So I'm going to take the Titans. So
that hurts. That hurts.
It does, but I got to be realistic, and I got to get some points on the old board here.
Yeah.
So we're both for the Titans, it seems, right, Clark?
Yeah, both taking the Titans to win for sure. That's easy.
So let's shift things over to the Falcons are coming into our good old state of New Jersey, taking on the New York Giants on Eli Manning Day. Two teams that are battered, banged up, and just can't really get a win to save their lives at this point. So if either of them want to compete, which if we're being honest, the Giants want to compete a lot more than the Falcons. Giants need this game. They need to come out. They need to win. They need to not play stupid football and shoot themselves in the foot. Now, at the same time, Daniel Jones did play a good game last week against the football team. So at least they have some momentum coming into this game. But also at the same time, the Falcons need to get right and show that taking Kyle Pitts as high as they did was worth the pick, because he's been kind of quiet so far.
This is a tough one. 2-0 teams, two teams that are very lackluster, not the worst teams in the league, but very just meh. This is a crappy matchup. I don't like this at all. Man, like you said, Pitts needs to get more involved. Giants got to stop shooting themselves in the foot, like you said. Like you said too, Danny Dimes, good game. Giants at home, Eli Manning Day. That's tempting. Give me. Oh, this is tough. Wow. This is literally a flip of a coin.
It is.
I
know where I'm going, so I wonder where you're going.
I didn't come into this prepared at all with any picks. I'm gonna go with the Giants.
I'm going to go with the Giants too, just because I like what they did last week. And if they didn't jump off sides, they're winning that game against Washington. It's as simple as that. They're missing the kick as time's expiring. So the Giants would have won. I just think they're a little more put together more than the Falcons, if we're being honest, just because what are they doing is really what's going on down there. The second coming of Jesus Christ, Arthur Smith, the head coach for the Falcons, doesn't really seem to be wanting to run the quiet offense that you'd think with Calvin Ridley, Kyle Pitts, Matt Ryan, and so forth, they would be running. So I'm sticking with the G-men for this week.
Yeah, I think it's a smart bet, especially, because of the tough loss too. I think that's the right, they get back on track, get their first win of the season on Eli Manning Day, like you said. Giants. I got to win that one.
So we're staying in the 1 o'clock window. We're just going down the list in time in the order in which the games happen. Now, this is a very surprising matchup that this is only a 1 o'clock game out west in the AFC. The LA Chargers are going out to Arrowhead to take on the Kansas City Chiefs. How this is a 1 o'clock game befuddles me, if I'm being quite honest. Don't know how this isn't a 4 o'clock game or at least Sunday night or a Monday night game, but that is here nor there. Justin Herbert, this is really a big game for the Chargers because if they want to truly show that they're trying to compete and dethrone the Chiefs, this is a big game for them. But also the Chiefs are bouncing back off of a very, very tough loss to the Ravens that they had in the bag and they fumbled it. So both teams really need this win.
Yeah, both teams need the win. Originally, if the Chiefs would have won that game last week against the Ravens, I would have picked the Chargers to win this game. But since the heartbreaking loss that they had with Clyde Edwards-Helaire fumbling right at the end there, and they're 1-1 now in the season, it's not 2-0. It's a big difference between 2-0 and 1-1. I think the safe bet here is obviously one of the better teams in the league, the best teams in the league, is just the Chiefs are going to win this game.
You're taking the safe bet. I'm going the opposite. I'm going to take the Chargers, honestly, just because
I like it.
I know I think Herbert is going to show why people are so high on him and why you specifically, think he's going to win MVP. And for him to make that case for MVP, he has to win games like this. Now, it is early enough in the season for Arrowhead where it's not cold, it's not bad weather. So unless it's raining out there, he should be comfortable in his element out there in Kansas City. And, the Chiefs are reeling a little bit. If they can catch momentum, Keenan Allen's look really good. Mike Williams is actually showing up for the first time since his Clemson days, if we're being honest. And if they can get Austin Eckler going, they have a nice little offense. And I think Justin Herbert can get things rolling. So I think he walks away out of Arrowhead with a win.
I like it. I mean, that'd be cool to see. I mean, the Chiefs would be 1-2 then. That'd be kind of another storyline to talk about. And, are they getting overtaken by the Chargers? But I like I said, if the Chiefs would have won last week, I would have 100% picked the Chargers because they'll be coming in cocky to this game, whatever, and all that. And the Chargers, who are hungry and young, would have been coming for a win. But since they're both kind of hungry for this win because they're both 1-1, and especially the heartbreaking loss, I'm sticking with the Chiefs.
Yeah. And now I'm just kind of looking at these games too as we're going through it, as I mess up my windows just a tad, but okay. So this week's games definitely seem a little not harder to predict, but not clear cut as last week because we all had really good weeks this week. So it'll be interesting to see Jesse and Steve what they pick. But the games as a whole seem like they could go a little more either way for some as last week. So talking about that, let's go up to the AFC North to Jesse's team. The Pittsburgh Steelers are hosting the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah, this is a toss up for me. This one too. The Bengals, that great week one, last second victory they had in overtime. Then Joe Burrow had probably the worst game of his career last week. So you can't tell what's going on with that team yet. If they're somewhat good or are they bad, like always. And the Steelers, they're not going to be too good with Ben Roethlisberger as quarterback anymore. Jesse said,
he's on the decline.
Yeah, no, the defense has been okay. The TJ Watt, I think, is hurt.
Yeah, I think he's still out with a groin injury. So that's good for Joe Burrow's knees, at least, that he won't have to be running around and avoiding him. Yeah, but also at the same time, the Steelers still do have a pretty good defense. It's just a matter of, can Ben get things going and can the offense get things going?
Yeah, and I think they will. I mean, the Bengals have a decent, they have some pieces on defense. They're like 2 or 3 pieces, but the defense as a whole is not
lacking.
It's very lacking. I agree. And I do think, as good as I think Burrow is and will be, the Steelers defense is just, one of the better defenses in the league, top 5 for sure. And Steelers at home too. Bengals never really win.
It's just really not a great scenario for the Bengals just because they're going into Pittsburgh. Even though TJ Watt is down, they still have Tuitt. They have Hayward. They have Minkah Fitzpatrick, who, is basically the second best player on that defense and second best player on the team as a whole, if we're being honest. it's just going to be a rough day for the Bengals and just Joe Burrow as a whole. Now, I don't think this is because Joe Burrow will be bad, but also at the same time, he's not going to be able to do much either.
No. So I think that's a Steelers pick for me.
Yeah, we're both on the Steel train at that point. So, yeah, well, first time I'll actually talk good about the Steelers when Jesse isn't here, so we can't hear it. So we're staying in the North, but a little inter-North divisional game with the Bears, with Justin Fields getting the start while Andy Dalton is dealing with his bone bruise. So if he plays well, he's probably SOL and out of a job. They are going to the shores of Lake Erie, taking on the Cleveland Browns, where Baker Mayfield also got banged up last week. So against that defense, hopefully he's a little bit healthier than he was, because he's going to need as much strength as possible. And really, this is where Justin Fields can take control of the job for QB1 in Chicago and basically screw Andy Dalton if he plays well enough.
He will take control, and he will lead the Bears to a victory in this game.
Okay.
I like this matchup a lot. I know they have a great defensive line out there in Cleveland, but I feel like Justin Fields can just run around it. I mean, the secondary's like not the strongest part of this defense. It's solid, but it's not the strongest part. I really like the Justin Fields first game getting the victory over the Browns. You know, everyone's going to be hyping him up then. And we don't know the status of Baker. One hit and he might be out for the rest of the game. You don't know what's going on with Baker. It's a little risky, especially like, fantasy, this isn't a fantasy podcast, but it's risky to start him if
the Bears can get to Baker, if Khalil Mack and the rest of the defense.
Have a good defense.
No, that's the thing. Defense. The defense will keep them in the game. And if Fields...
And again, no Jarvis. Jarvis is out. Odell, we don't know what's going on with him.
And that's the thing. If the Bears defense can keep it competitive, hit Baker a few times, contain the run of Hunt and Chubb, that's going to be the biggest thing. Because once that get going, Baker won't really have to worry about not having too many targets, because they're going to have to go to Bryant and Hooper a lot more. But if they can keep it close, hold them to a few field goals, keep it, not get blown out really. And if Fields can manage the game and use his best tools, which is his legs and, his arm and throwing outside the pocket on the run and just taking care of the football, it could be a very winnable game for the Bears. But at the end of the day, I'm still sticking with the Browns just because they're a more complete team. I like the defense, and Baker has proven with minimal weapons at a time, because he's basically played majority of his games as a starter without Odell, it seems like. But with Jarvis not being there, that's kind of been his safety blanket. So definitely see how he grows. But at the end of the day, with the Browns defense and their Browns running game with the two-headed monster of Hunt and Chubb, I think they walk away with the win still.
Yeah, no. Okay. We'll see.
Okay. Yeah, we shall see.
We'll see.
So this game next, we're going to talk about a little more easier to predict. And that's the Ravens at the Lions. Good old Dan Campbell. He's trying so hard to rally his guys, keep them playing competitive football. They almost had to win against the Niners, looked okay for a half against the Packers, and then fell apart. So it's really, what game will we be getting against the Ravens, either the 49ers Lions or the Packers Lions? Because that really is what matters most. Because if it's the 49ers one, they can stay with this Ravens team because they're good. Lamar's bouncing back a little bit. Hollywood Brown's having a good season as a receiver, which Lamar needed. But if the Lions can play tough and just kind of never say die, they could stay in this game.
I think they can stay in it too. Do I think they're going to come out with the W? No. Even though, injury report came out, Lamar was very questionable. He's questionable to start. I do think he gets to start.
He'll play.
I think he plays. Hollywood Brown also questionable. I think he's going to play as well. They're just a better team here. This is just a case of a better team versus a team that's tough, very tough. Doesn't give up. We saw what they did against the Niners in the comeback, stayed competitive, started off really hot against the Packers on Monday Night Football, but eventually that just got thrown out of proportions when Aaron Jones got like 5 touchdowns. But no, I think the Ravens is a pretty easy win here.
Like, I really want to go with the Lions just because they've shown enough to me that it's like, okay, they're not as bad as we thought. Penny Sewell is better at left tackle, obviously. Jared Goff is still a pretty good quarterback. It's just lack of weapons and lack of an entire defense. It came out this week. They're already trying to trade Jamie Collins. So they're trying to take that piece away just because he's kind of not quitting on the team. But yeah, he's sort of quitting on the team at the same time, giving up, and he wants to get the hell out of there. And I don't blame him. But I just don't think the Lions will have enough mojo in their pockets or in the juice going for them to dethrone the Ravens a little bit. So I'm going with Baltimore as well. So we're on the same page for a good portion of these games. A few we're different on the Bears, Browns, and Chiefs, Chargers. So we'll see how the others do. But Let's talk about another game a little bit here and there, which it's going to be Jameis Winston and the Saints going to New England, take on Mac Jones and the Patriots. And basically in the last few weeks, we've seen Mac Jones not do too much to carry the load, but also not do enough to mess up carrying the load at the same time, where he hasn't necessarily been the reason they lost their one game, but he wasn't the reason also why they won their one game. So the Patriots are getting out of Mac Jones what they're putting in, which is very minimal, but also at the same time, Saints are looking to try to prove that Jameis can be the guy. So I think definitely for the Saints, they need this game a lot more than the Patriots do. But also at the same time, the Patriots want to go into next week with a win because that's when Tom Brady comes to town.
I can't wait for that next week.
That's going to be awesome.
And Brady could break the record too for what most passing yards is it, I think in so. Foxborough. That's fantastic. But no, you said it best. Saints need this victory. They need it badly. Like you said, last week was horrible.
Worst Sean Payton game ever.
Yeah,
which is insane because Sean Payton has been there literally for forever. It feels
over a decade more. Yeah, it's a long time. Now Jameis needs to show up in Foxborough, but that's hard to do. It's hard to win against the Patriots in general with Bill Belichick there, but especially harder to win in Foxborough as well. I do think the Patriots get the win here. I'm still not a believer in the Saints. I don't know if they're a good team. I don't know.
It's
if they're
so
a bad
tough
team.
with the Saints, but that's what we're gonna get with Jameis. That's what he was with the Bucs, where it's like some weeks he looks really good, and then other weeks he looks really bad. That's why he had a 30-30 season in the NFL, 30 touchdowns, 30 interceptions, where it's like, oh, he can make the throws, and oh, he really can't make those throws, and he thinks he can.
Yeah, because you beat the Packers. Great. It looks like they weren't ready or they weren't prepared, the Packers. Or they weren't focused. And then you see what they did on Monday night. Packers are a good team. And then you just lost to the Panthers with another blowout score. Like, you don't know what you're expecting. They're literally like...
Yeah, you don't know what you're getting. And with that inconsistency, I have to go with the Patriots. Just because with the Patriots, we know what we're getting, which is good defense, good running game, and Mac Jones managing the ball just enough to get it to the receivers, to get the first down and move the chains and play safe, conservative, barring football. And Jameis, I think, is going to make the one throw too many where he tries to make the play and it backfires and it costs him.
Kind of like what Zach Wilson did last week. And we're going to expose Jameis the same way.
A few more times.
Yeah, you can say that. So, yeah, no, Patriots definitely.
Oh, good. And they're going to get some momentum going into next week with Thomas Edward Patrick Brady coming to town. So... let's head all the way down south to the Cardinals, traveling to Jacksonville to take on the Jaguars. And this has blowout of the week written all over it because the Cardinals with Kyler Murray, the little guy running around out there in the desert, throwing it, slinging it, no problem, showing why playing football was a lot better than riding a bus in AA for the Oakland Athletics. They're awesome. Not awesome, but they're really good. And
they're
Hopkins,
fun to watch.
They are. The air raid offense is very fun. And against the Jaguars team that is just debilitated at this point and just falling apart in front of our eyes, the Urban Meyer experience is one hell of an experience and kind of falling apart and going to shit really quick. Trevor Lawrence not looking like the golden boy everyone thought out of the gate. He's struggling as well, but same thing with Sam Darnold back in New York. He has really minimal help around him. So what do you expect the guy to do? And they're just going to be outmatched, outgunned, simple as that. And I think this is easily going to be a plus 30-point victory for the Cardinals. Like, I think just total blowout.
It's going to be close to that. And this is my guarantee it of the week.
Ooh,
right
okay.
Here. It's too easy not to take. Like I said on previous podcasts, I love Trevor Lawrence. He's a fantastic talent, but he literally has nothing. I really feel like Trevor Lawrence is like this next generation's Matt Stafford in a way.
No, he's set up to be in that capsule, in that little pocket where he gets forgotten about. He's a very good quarterback, and until he gets the chance to leave, we won't see what he's actually been being held back by, not having help. It's like, I understand Stafford had a Hall of Fame wide receiver with Calvin Johnson.
True.
But outside of that, what did they do?
Nothing.
They did nothing. They didn't win a playoff game. They've barely been 9-7 with Jim Caldwell era. And it's like, Urban Meyer's not going to see this through. That's just not going to happen. Simple as that. He will be out of that contract within 2 years, if not earlier.
It's best for that organization.
I absolutely think it is. I think they were just trying to be the splash sexy hire, and it's kind of blown up in the Khan's face. But I think Urban Meyer will go off to college where he belongs, because some coaches just don't make it in the NFL because for one reason or another, they just won't. And the Jags will kind of get set back a little bit again, just because, yes, they have a quarterback, but they won't have stable coaching, because really until Doug Marrone was there, they didn't have any stable coaching or any good coaching. So, ugh.
Yeah, no. And like you said, the Cardinals are just fun to watch. A good defense too. Like we talked about the offense with Murray and Hopkins and all those guys, but a really good defense too. A good pass rush. Chandler Jones having a great season so far. Still got JJ Watt up there. It's a lot of fun watching this team. And I know they're in Jacksonville, so it's a lot harder to win on the road. It doesn't. No, it's a lot harder to win on the road, but going to Cardinals here. A lock on the Cardinals here.
You're guaranteeing the Cardinals.
Guaranteeing it.
So we're switching over to the other Steve's team. The Washington football team is going up to Orchard Park to take on the Buffalo Bills. Now, if they had Ryan Fitzpatrick, I might feel a little bit different of this game, but I think the Bills are trying to right the ship. Josh Allen, I was watching Good Morning Football today. He's hard on himself when they lose. So whenever he makes a bad play, he feels like he should complete every pass. So I think he'll come out with something to prove and a chip on his shoulder as if he needs it. And he also has 300 million reasons why he should be the guy, and he'll show why he's the guy. But I think at the same time, it's not going to be a total blowout, because Washington's defense is still really good front seven wise, which that's one thing the Bills don't really do, is run the ball, because they don't really need to when you have Josh Allen. So I think the corners will kind of be picked apart by Diggs. He'll show, and I think we'll kind of see reminiscence and flashbacks to the good old connection they had last year. That was awesome to see. And I think the Bills walk away with the dub.
Yeah, this was almost my lock, but I didn't want to do that to Steve.
Okay, nice. I respect it. I respect it.
Not very nice.
Wait till they play another team.
Exactly. No, I like you said about Fitzpatrick, but this team almost should have most likely lost to the Giants last week, and the Giants are not a good football team. They're very mediocre, and they should have lost if the Giants weren't stupid and dropped balls wide open in the end zone and didn't go and encroachment and all that garbage. No, easy.
And plus,
there's not much to say here.
And like Taylor Heinicke, like we've had such a small sample size of him. It's like he's looked
solid.
He's looked good.
He's solid, but
I don't think he can go toe to toe with Josh Allen.
With Josh Allen in the crazy Buffalo fans up north, how loud it's going to be.
Now at the same time,
cables and all that.
In the playoffs, he went toe to toe with Tom Brady and hung with him. But I don't think he sticks with the Bills. So the Bills ultimately get the W. So another AFC East team is going out to Denver to take on the Denver Broncos. That's the Jets and Zach Wilson looking to rebound from his worst game probably of his entire football life. I think he said in an interview where he's never thrown 4 interceptions in a game before. So to do that on the professional level in your second game is a little shot to the confidence for sure, but they're taking on a rather stable and competitive Denver Broncos team with Teddy Bridgewater at the helm.
Another fun team to watch just because of how good this defense is too. And I know the Panthers won last night on Thursday Night Football. They're 3-0, and the Broncos, most likely I think are going to be 3-0 here with a win over the Jets. If you would have told me that, like that Super Bowl 50 matchup of the Broncos,
how far the teams have fallen and how much of like roster turnover. I think honestly,
I know.
Like the only remaining player on both rosters is Von Miller.
Von Miller. Yeah. No, that's insane. If you would have told me the Broncos and the Panthers would be undefeated week 3, I just would have said you're crazy.
Graham Gano and McManus. Usually the kickers like stick around for forever if they're not bad and they don't like decline. They're even gone. Like the rosters were completely blown up.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. Couple injuries in this one. Jets obviously without Mekhi Becton, which is going to kill them because that Broncos defense is killer as it is. So Wilson's not going to have any time to run around. And of course, Bradley Chubb just got injured this week as well. So he's out. So that's a little, that stinks a little for the Broncos. But, Teddy's been impressing me so much. I loved what Teddy did his little stint in Minnesota. And of course, his little bit of time in Carolina. I'm taking the Broncos here. I think it's an easy bet.
I'm with you on this one. I'm really enjoying the Broncos. They're a fun little team to watch. It's amazing how once they get a competent, stable, reliable quarterback, and Drew Lock was just not that good.
He was bad.
Yeah. So Teddy Bridgewater is doing the job that he's being asked, which is get the ball to Courtland Sutton, get the ball to Noah Fant. Melvin Gordon's has a little bit in the tank, so he can still run a bit. The offensive line is pretty average, but getting the job done. And we've seen that defense that they can keep them in games. And Zach Wilson, as long as he just doesn't look as bad as he did last week, which at that point
it's a win for the Jets then.
Yeah, but
it's a moral win. For
exactly.
The Jets.
If Wilson goes out there, if he maybe throws like an interception max, you wouldn't want more than that, but maybe 200 yards, 250, maybe a touchdown here and there, and just look reliable and can bounce back from a bad loss that's a better sign. And I still don't think they win, though. Regardless, it's going to be the Broncos.
Yeah.
So we have another AFC East versus AFC West matchup, and that is the Miami Dolphins without Tua, who is hurt with some bruised, broken ribs, going out to Vegas to take on the white hot Raiders, who have been lighting up with Derek Carr and kind of resurging a little bit, showing flashes of his 2014 MVP candidacy before the Colts ended that season. And under center for the Dolphins will be Jacoby Brissett, and me and you, as well as anybody who is a Colts fan, knows that Brissett is a fine quarterback, but nothing really more. He won't win you games. He'll probably lose you a little more than he actually wins. And under pressure, he's not the best. He has an okay arm, but also he needs a run game to help him. And the Dolphins really don't have a running game in general. So I think he'll struggle just because Max Crosby and Carl Nassib and the defense as a whole for the Raiders has been showing up and playing a lot better than many expecting me, especially me, anticipate them to even do. And the Raiders offense specifically just looks great this year.
Yeah, no, Josh Jacobs was looking very questionable. It's one thing I saw.
But so Kenyon Drake.
Maybe Kenyon Drake would get the start or take more reps, but I would have maybe picked the Dolphins to win if they had Tua there, just because maybe the Raiders will finally come back down to earth. But another 3-0 team, I think this is going to happen. I'm easily, I think, taking the Raiders, especially with Jacoby at quarterback. Like you said, we've seen Jacoby plenty of times in games. He's one of probably the best backup in the league right now. That's a permanent backup and not trying to
he does really well in games against mediocre to bad. The Raiders, I think, are average to good this year, just as what we've seen in 2 weeks. It's a very small sample size, but they're a better team than we thought. And those are the types of matchups that Brissett doesn't really do well in. So it's going to be Vegas.
I think it's going to be Vegas as well.
So another game on paper, which looks really good, but based on how one team has played, the Seahawks are going to Minnesota to take on the Vikings. The good old Blair Walsh game. Oh, that was way back when. Yeah, that was this matchup.
Oh my God.
The Vikings need this win bad because if they go to 0-3, their season is effectively over. And I think that effectively also might end Mike Zimmer's tenure at the end of the year. So they're playing for a lot in Minnesota. They need this game bad.
Yeah. And they don't have Anthony Barr. They don't have a couple of their mainstay guys. And Dalvin Cook, you saw him last week hobbling a little bit, had to take a couple reps off. He wasn't 100%. I want to take the Vikings here.
So do I, because when they're pushed up against their wall, I feel like the Vikings can get the win when they absolutely have to.
Me too. I think they can, but then again, on the other side of the ball, the Seahawks with a crushing loss last week against the Titans, just crushing, was winning for majority of the game. And then all of a sudden, they wound up losing in overtime and they did not perform well at all in overtime. So they have a big chip on their shoulder too, to not go under 500. It's two teams that are tough. And if I have to trust one team more than the other, I trust the Seahawks more. So I'm
absolutely. Wilson is going to have a good game. He's going to get the ball to Tyler Lockett, who's having an all-pro level season. Metcalf has been quiet, so this has potential DK Metcalf breakout game for this season. And Chris Carson, if they can rely on him and get the run game going, it's going to be very hard for the Vikings to keep up because they need to get the Seahawks offense off the field. And that defense has consistently declined throughout the years, which is another reason why I think Zimmer might be on the way out, because defense was supposed to be his big thing and it's fallen apart a little bit. So I think the Vikings will have an easy win to victory this week, beating the Vikings. The Seahawks. You heard it. No, Seahawks.
I don't know. Replay the tape on that.
Nope, that will get edited out. No, it won't, because I won't go looking for it.
No.
So now we're shifting gears. We're still in the 4 o'clock window, I think. Yeah, give or take. Yep, 4 o'clock.
Last one.
We have a really good matchup to end up the 4 o'clock window with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the defending Super Bowl champions, going out to LA to take on Matt Stafford and the Rams. If the Rams want to show that they're trying to get back to the Super Bowl, they're capable of getting back to the Super Bowl, they have to go through the defending champion. And this is where it shows, is Matt Stafford the guy, which they think that he is. And from watching him the past 2 weeks, I think he very well could be. He has to beat Tampa Bay here and get the win for the Rams to show that they can get back to the Super Bowl, that Sean McVay picking him, hand selecting him to bring him and giving up all the draft picks that they somehow still have to go get him from Detroit. This is a must win for the Rams to make. It's a statement win they need to get.
Oh, 100%. And the fact that this game's not on like Sunday Night Football is ridiculous, I think. I mean, Packers Niners is cool. We'll get to that shortly. But not having this on prime time for the whole world, so even if it's Monday Night Football.
It's Fox's main game. But yeah, the fact that it's not the only game going on.
Yeah, it needed to be. It is such a good game. Two undefeated teams, two teams that, like you said, have just dominated the first 2 weeks of the season. I mean, if you want to call it dominated, the Buccaneers or the Cowboys week 1, but they came back and won that. And the Rams, like you said, have just looked really, really good. Close game with the Colts last week, but they still pulled out the win there. This is a tough one. The Rams
really
at home,
is.
The Rams at home is very hard to pick against, just because the whole new stadium, the whole new atmosphere, the whole new swagger that this team just has in general.
And plus, Cooper Kupp could very well lead the league in receiving yards. He is awesome after the catch. So if that connection of Kupp and Stafford gets going, the secondary is going to for Tampa Bay is going to be hard because the linebackers won't be covering him. I don't really know cornerback wise who's going to be on him too much. Your boy Sean Murphy Bunting's been out for a while because he got hurt. So,
and on the other side of the ball with the Buccaneers, I know it's not that big of a deal because of how many receivers they have, but Antonio Brown's out for the game, and he's had a really, really good start to the season this year.
The Rams are going to have to try to cover Gronk because he's having a very good season and just flashes of Patriots Brady with Gronk all over again, but also, still Mike Evans, which is a very good receiver, and Chris Godwin, which is an even better 2 option than most teams have. And really, the Rams have to get Robert Woods going because, like I said, with Cooper Kupp, it's really just been Cooper Kupp the past 2 weeks for the Rams also.
Yeah, it has. This hurts me to say, but I'm going to go with the Rams here. I'm
with you. I really like the Rams. There's just something about Stafford this year. He's playing loose. He's playing happy. He's in where he wants to be. He's in a system that caters to him. When they spread it out and go 5 wide, they're one of the most unstoppable offenses from watching them firsthand.
Yeah, no, it hurts me to say that, but I'm just the injury. JPP is also out. Couple injuries there.
But it's another thing too, where you think Tom Brady wants to get a win too going into Foxborough. Like that's also on the table as well and get some momentum.
That is true. I mean, and that game is going to be a wash, I think, when we get to that next week. But no, it hurts because big of a Brady fan I've become over the last 2 years.
Not by choice.
Not by choice, but hey, I stuck with it and I'm loving it. But no, I think the Rams get a big statement win here, and then they'll be the talk of the town for the next week in the NFL for sure. So I'm going with the Rams.
So we're on to the last 2 games of the season into prime time not the season of the week. Boy, thank God it's not the end of the season already. But the Packers are going to San Francisco. Aaron Rodgers is taking on his childhood team, the team he wanted to be drafted to, the 49ers, with their 2 quarterbacks, Jimmy G and Trey Lance. Who are we going to get? I don't know. But I'm going to say it right now. The Niners are going to win, and this is going to be the Trey Lance coming out party. I think we see him more and more this game, and they're going to stick with him more and more.
I'm the complete opposite. I'm going with the Packers here. I loved what they showed last week. They came out very, very soft against the Saints to start the season, and there were all these questions after week 1 of what's going on with the Packers, and they just shut everybody up.
Rodgers, this is a statement win for Rodgers, because if they go 1-2, I don't think we've really ever seen that. But if he go out there and show and beat the Niners, who people think are one of the better teams, and just beat his and on prime time, bounce back and stick it to everybody that, they can just relax.
Exactly. That was like, what did they say, 10, 12 years ago? He said that.
Was it really?
I felt like it was 5 years ago. I think it was 10. I heard that somewhere and I was like 10 years ago.
I got to look that up.
Yeah. Unless that person was wrong, but no, I think the Packers, continue on their hot streak, continue on the momentum they built, and I do think they get the win in Santa Clara. So that's going to be a fun game to watch. Yeah, it's going to be a fun game to watch. It's going to be a good game. I love to see
there's a lot of good. There's a lot of good games this week, which is nice.
I do think it will be closer if Trey Lance is your quarterback. I'm still not big on Jimmy G. He's a good game manager. That's about it. But no, I'm gonna stick with the Packers for now.
So here we are, Monday Night Football, final game of week 2. NFC East divisional matchup, the Eagles at the Cowboys. Eagles have looked a little bit better than I anticipated, and the Cowboys offense has looked really good, but the defense has looked abysmal. So I think this is going to be one of the higher scoring games this week. Jalen Hurts will really just have to worry about avoiding, Micah Parsons, who seems to be the only semblance of a capable defender on the Cowboys, who's had a really good week last week. So that's probably gonna be his job, is trying to contain him, because once Hurts starts running, it's gonna be a long day for the Cowboys. But also on the same time, Eagles don't really have much of a D line now because Brandon Graham's out for the foreseeable future. So Dak, that's one less person to pressure him. And the O-line has looked better. Tyron Smith is getting healthy and looking better, like his prime self. So Dak will have some time to sit back and throw. So Amari Cooper is poised for a big day. CeeDee Lamb is poised for a big day, which you'll probably need in your fantasy matchup.
I need him to drop like a good 60 points for me. That'd be very nice.
You have to make up for all of the shortcomings of McCaffrey and everyone else who doesn't really do much on your team. No. But it's going to be a very high scoring game. And ultimately, though, I think the Cowboys will come away with the win.
Cowboys' first home game of the year, which is crazy. Started 2 on the road. Their fans are crazy. Their fans are rough. The Eagles proved to be a somewhat decent team over the first 2 weeks. I mean, week 1, when they came out on fire, we're like, wow, is this team actually good? And they lost in a very, very close one with the 49ers last week. So, they're very competitive. I do think, like you said, high scoring game, close game, but Cowboys at home, just that offense is a lot of fun to watch. Give Tony Pollard more carries because he's better than Zeke.
Oh, absolutely. Zeke. But I think if they do that, they're admitting that Zeke isn't what he was anymore. And the generational talent everyone thought Zeke was done. And I don't think financially they want to do that.
I know, but
we've seen in the NFL, though, you need to have at least 2 good running backs just because the shelf life of a running back is minimal.
True.
But Pollard is the better running back now.
Pollard's better right now. Right now, Pollard's better. And with that being said, I'm easily taking the Cowboys here. Did it be like you said, a shootout, a lot of points on the board? But I do trust Dak. I do trust Amari, CD, Pollard, Zeke, whoever. That offensive line was pretty solid. I trust that whole offense, even though the defense is lackluster. I trust the offense to get it done and get the win.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. So
thank you.
Go Cowboys.
How about them Cowboys?
So those are our picks for the week. We'll get Jesse and Steve's. So when we come back and recap it, we'll have the current updated standings, which right now, unfortunately, has Jesse in first, Bologna in second, Clark, you're in third, and I'm in fourth. Me and you, though, are similar on a good amount of these games, so we can't really gain too much ground on each other. So it will be interesting to see what they do.
Good.
And we also have an Extreme Rules podcast this week because good old football season during WWE pay-per-views is always a bitch of a week, and that's what we've been having to deal with. So this podcast will come out later on Friday night, which obviously you'll be listening to. Extreme Rules will be on Saturday. We'll probably recap Extreme Rules on a Monday, which means we'll have NFL on a Tuesday. So, and then maybe an AEW one because Dynamite and Rampage was pretty good this week. That still has to get covered. Who knows when we'll get to it? And there's some pack openings still coming down the pipe. But we're starting to get
baby.
Yeah, we're starting to get load again. Summer breaks well in the rear view mirror, so we can't really do our normal 1 to 2 podcasts a week. We're back on it, pumping these out. So Clark, when they all come out, where can people listen to those?
Yeah, listen to that and watch it on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. Follow us on our social medias on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Sports Depth Pod. That's Sports DEPT Pod. Justin went through that whole rundown, and even baseball playoffs are coming up too.
Yeah.
So that wild card round, we'll just probably break down after each round, maybe, of what happened. And then then when we get to the World Series, we'll do every game again, maybe. We'll breaking down each game if we can. It's tough. It's tough. People are busy. That's why it's only a 2-man podcast here, but we're trying our best to bang out these podcasts as much as we can. So stay tuned to all that fun stuff, and we'll see you in the next episode.